Welcome everyone who's joined us for this pilot episode of our adoption enablement focused podcast. My name is Salim Malouf. I'm the director of marketing here at Harvest ROI. And I'm joined today by our very own Lindsay John. Hi, Lindsay.
Hello. Thanks, Salim. I'm excited to be here. I'm excited about this topic too. This hits close to home, so I'm very excited to chat through it.
Yeah. So a little bit of context. This is our pilot episode. Formats can change. So if you have any insights on what you would like to hear around CRM adoption enablement, let us know, including any suggestions for names for this podcast, because we haven't done that yet. We wanted to test out the format first, but I know Lindsay has a couple of suggestions.
I always have suggestions. That's an unfortunate side effect of just who I am as a person. I will always have a name for you.
Yeah. So, Lindsay, Harvest ROI, not to call ourselves special, but we are special in that we focus a lot on multiple stages of a RevOps journey. We don't just onboard people and kick them to the curb once they're done. Mm-hmm. We make sure that the platforms stick. And can you tell us more about like how we approach it here at Harvest ROI, especially with our enablement product called AdoptionHub?
Yeah. I think you nailed it perfectly, where it's a lot of times what happens with builds, right, inside of HubSpot is that the initial build gets done and people are like, this is so cool. And then it just gets forgotten, right? It's in the graveyard of good ideas, and people will continue to go back to what they know, what they like to do. And it just causes a headache, right? This is where you start getting those sunken costs. And really that's why we started talking about AdoptionHub. You and I both went through a very specific training from our good friend HubSpot. And one of the things I really loved about the HubSpot Certified Trainer certification is how it talked about adult learners, because I've always kind of like danced around it, but I think that certification gave a really good insight on really at the end of the day, adult learners are only going to sit and do what is impacting them the most, right? And when you take that mindset to how you're training and enabling and adopting your team, whether it's like learning a new process, if it's teaching them a new tool, like you really have to drive in the make it simple, make it something where it's immediately impactful, and make it very easy to find, right? If it's not any of those three things, like I have no motivation as an adult learner to go do those things, right? Like my job's KPIs are very different than like what you're trying to do. And that's why AdoptionHub came to be, because it's really being able to put all of those SOPs, like those nudges, those validations, the compliance, the process rules right in front of that learner, because then they'll be more enabled to actually do what they need to do to get the job done. A lot of times when people will tell you, the best thing is to tell them like how it's going to impact them. If you're a salesperson, how it's going to impact you at the bottom line is your paycheck, like your commission. Yeah. And so if you can tell them exactly how this is going to make it easier for me, like you're going to have to take out me spending time on it, if that makes sense. Which is why AdoptionHub came to be. It's really trying to remove any friction from rolling out new processes, from adopting a system, and making it so simple. KISS. Keep it simple, sweetie. Keep it simple, sweetie. And that's really why AdoptionHub came to be. When we're working at Harvest ROI, it's obviously we have our RevOps hierarchy of needs, and level 3 is maybe level 4 is adoption. I can't.
No, it is level 3.
Is it? Okay, level 3. Oh my gosh.
Hey, trust your instincts.
I know, right? That level 3 really is adoption, because of like if you're not going to utilize that tool, then that sucks. And that's just wasted money and heartache all the way around. And what we see with our customers a lot, in fact, I just got off a sales call and it was like, hey, we've had this tool for forever. Like we need, it's now or never. We do it now, or we have to figure out something else. And all you're doing is pushing out the envelope at that point, right? Like, yes, you can go to another tool, but if you don't fix the root cause, which is going to be how you get your team in there and adopted, then you're just going to have that same issue no matter what platform you're on.
Yeah. Honestly, I admit I wish I had AdoptionHub in a past life. I ran a portal for 4 business units with 15 reps in the industrial space. And these are more seasoned reps. And I have to admit, the thing you said about like adult learners, my frustration was with the fact that some of these processes are simple, but it's just the fact that adults don't feel that they need to internalize that process. All they need is, hey, tell me where to click and I'll do it, because they know that this is the fastest way to impacting their own paycheck. So I admit AdoptionHub would have saved me a lot of heartache in the past.
Yep. I remember I was a HubSpot admin for a company of like 500 people across multiple countries. They're based out of Israel. And the same thing, I would wake up, I'd have to get on at 6 a.m. every day because I'd have to be on Israel time. And I would already have like 7 or 8 Slacks from the sales team being like, what do I need to do here? What do I need to do here? And like my entire job was answering Slacks. Like, it's great. I love talking to people, but that was really painful. And that is just, and the whole thing is just because you, adults, learners, humans in general, they're going to go to the path of least resistance. And the path of least resistance is going to just be asking someone who you know is going to give you an answer.
Yeah.
And
we are a HubSpot Diamond partner, and we grew to Diamond by doing 2 things really well. One, the first one is being tapped in to our customer success rep network at HubSpot and helping a lot of at risk of churn portals to turn around and then end up working so well that they want to upgrade their packages from Pro to Enterprise. The second piece is we have done a great job at working with private equity groups that tap us in to help set up their portfolio companies with HubSpot.
Yep.
That's kind of why in our pilot episode, we wanted to use that specific use case to dive in deeper on how AdoptionHub can help private equity companies and how we've been successful at helping them not just, get the reporting that they need, but normalize their processes across their portfolio. So, but a lot of people, when they're thinking about PE, a lot of them default to the mindset of like nobody gets fired for buying IBM. So in our case, nobody gets fired for buying Salesforce or some other like CRM that is just like the thing you buy. But recently, a lot of them are switching to HubSpot and recommending HubSpot more for their portfolio companies. Why is that?
because why is that? There's lots of reasons. So first off, this is like really close to my heart. I'm going to go on a little bit of a tangent here. I used to work in private equity. I used to work in fund administration. And when I left, I was like, I want to start my own fund. Like, I think that's my life goal. And that's something that was 4 or 5 years ago. And I instead pivoted and I ended up working at a startup. And it's so funny because I think about what questions I would have asked at that point in my life to a potential person who was looking for money, private equity, VC, whatever it is, and what I know now. And I'm like, okay, my questions would be totally different. Back then, I'd be like, okay, what are your projections? Like, how much are you going to hit this year? And now it's hey, CEO, if you get hit by a bus tomorrow, is your company being able to survive? Do you have your processes written down? Can I come in and understand what is going on in your pipelines? Can I understand what I need to do? Like, if I were to come in with no knowledge, would I be able to be successful? And the answer is, with most of these things, no. And that is why HubSpot is becoming so popular. It's why AdoptionHub came into be. It's because HubSpot's out-of-the-box functionality is so great that it's easy to navigate. You don't need to spend a ton of money trying to get someone to set it up, like maybe Salesforce would be or is. And that's why HubSpot is doing so well. Is because I can come in out of the box and have, generic deal stages, understand lead, and understand that kind of very simple customer journey. And did I answer your question? I have one more to say.
You did.
Am I missing something? But that's why, because not only is it easy to set up, but it scales with you now. And the amount of updates that are coming out of HubSpot are insane. Like when I do my trainings, my HubSpot one-on-one trainings with our clients, right? Because I'm working in all aspects of like how deep is your HubSpot knowledge. And at the end of the day, what I really push through is that it's not just a CRM anymore. It is a customer journey platform. And that means that literally any interaction that your client is having with you can be done within HubSpot. payment processing, reading your blog, quotes. They're continuing to expand that use case. So out of the box setup, pretty intuitive to understand, even though they're continuing to add things to it. And I would say like very user friendly.
Yeah.
Sorry, that was a tangent.
If I
I
want,
pulled up.
no. In fact, I love it. If I wanted to put myself in the shoes of a private equity firm manager or principal, I have a lot of experience running businesses, so I know what's working and what's not. But my experience is based on a specific way of doing things, specific reports that I expect to do my decision making.
Yeah.
And unless those reports are standardized across my portfolio, I find myself slowing down, trying to dig deeper into each custom use case for each portfolio company, and simply my decision making becomes slower, and I become prone to not being able to pivot or react to market shifts and changes that are happening. How are we helping them tackle this issue today?
Yeah. So that we're really talking about the operational alignment crisis.
Yeah.
The operational alignment crisis. And it's interesting because you're talking a lot from like the PE side, but I always think about the founder side too, right? Founders, the CEOs. And when you join into this, but I was going to say like marriage, this relationship, right? When you're getting bought by a PE firm, you're getting VC money, whatever it is. A lot of people focus so much on like the wedding, right? The build up to the wedding, the money coming through, that a lot of people do not focus about on the marriage itself. And this is where that operational alignment crisis is really going to happen, is after the funding. And to your point, the PEs don't want to be over micromanaging to the point that they lose trust and faith. But the founders are like, I don't really know what you're looking for. And so really, when you're a PE firm, what you want to standardize what you're doing. You want to sit down with your portfolio companies and say, like, let's map out your process. Like, let's figure out how we can align it with what our standards are, and maybe even rebuild a pipeline or two and build those reports so that we know that the data is matching. And even taking that time from the beginning to build, or like maybe even optimize what's going on, that is going to take, it might be a lot of lift up front, but bringing everyone up to that same level of standard means that the PE firm can go into any PortCo and know exactly what they're looking at, right? Like you even said, digging into custom use cases. No, no, stop right there. You should not be spending that much time digging into your client's custom use cases, right? At the end of the day, their business is not super different than another business that you've invested in, right? Like they may think they're a unicorn and they're so special and all of this kind of fun stuff, which you are going to applaud them and say, yes, they are. But bring it back down to reality to say, like, hey, at the end of the day, are you still generating leads? Do you still have someone working those leads? Do you have someone working through a sales process? Do you follow a sales methodology? At the same time, you can standardize all of that so that you're making sure that the data that you're looking for is easily found.
Yeah. A lot of portfolio companies and founders might feel like, hey, my industry is special and we need to do it this certain way. But we all know, with the exception of maybe a few, most private equity funds always invest in companies that have something in common. And that is also tied to their own industry expertise in that space to be able to invest and consult and support and guide these founders. So the truth is, maybe 5% of it might be special to your specific company, but across the portfolio, that 95% is common, and it is better for you in the long run to adopt the private equity's systems and processes. That way they can help you faster and help you get your goals faster, instead of trying to fight them on the little customizations that you might have done and the process you might have built that made sense pre-acquisition. But now that you have a different board that you need to report to, and it definitely starts making more sense to kind of like relinquish some of that control.
Well, and this is the phrase that always comes to mind. If everyone's special, that means no one is, right?
Yeah.
Like, again, you probably do have something special about you. That's why you're getting acquired. Like there was a spark, but just your functionality, your standard, how you're working, like it does not change every day. And the best example I can give is like, do you wake up every morning, Celine?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you get out of bed every morning?
Yeah.
Sometimes, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. For the most part. For the most part. Do you brush your teeth? Do you have breakfast? Like
do.
you are a unique human, but like what you are doing functionality is the same. And so it's
Yeah.
really an advantage for private equity firms to have a standard HubSpot build that they do enforce on their founders and or CEOs. And then even the other way around, right? If you're a CEO that's getting this money, you should welcome this because it's going to be less stress from you. Less stress for you. Because at the end of the end, we're even seeing this with a client right now where they took money, granted, again, a VC, not private equity, but still they took money and they're stressed out. But they're stressed out because they're like, my investors are asking for all of this data and I don't know how to pull it. And then it's going, like, as they're peeling back the layers, he is peeling back the layers, she is peeling back the layers, they're starting to realize it's because like they haven't set up their system correctly. And so if I'm a private equity firm and I just say, hey, I'm going to force you to use HubSpot and I'm going to force you to use this build, and because I'm forcing you to use the standardization, we can make customizations off of it. Instead of trying to figure out your custom build, I'm going to force you into this one and we will customize off of it.
Correct.
And it's like, when people hear that, it's, it's not making sense of chaos. It's creating chaos, right? It's not making sense of this dang web. It's creating the base of the web and building off of it. And what's so nice about AdoptionHub is that we can have all of that packaged and ready to go for you. So it's like, hey, I am going to make you try our sales methodology. Here's everything you need. Here's all the play cards, the explainer cards, the playbook itself, the action plans to teach you about it, the process rules to make sure that the data is being impacted. And we can give that to you really quickly so that even though we're making maybe a switch on your team, the impact should be minimal. Minimal. Because of that.
No, go ahead.
No.
Sorry.
You had a question.
No, I was just going to say what private equity needs is tier 4 of our RevOps hierarchy of needs, which is the reporting layer.
Mm-hmm.
And just a quick reminder for anyone who doesn't know our RevOps hierarchy of needs, we have a 5-tier pyramid where we prioritize the type of activities that we do with you when we're helping you set up your own instance of HubSpot, because we know each one feeds off the other. We always start with a data architecture foundation. On top of that, we start building process and documenting process. And in tier 3, we start with adoption and enablement, which is helping the teams do the processes that we've designed. And the reason why that is before reporting is because if people aren't sticking to process, then the reporting is unreliable, which is all of these stages are necessary. And if every single portfolio company has their own little unicorn custom approach to all of this, then it's going to be exponentially harder to get that tier 4 reporting to be standardized across the portfolio, which in turn is going to create stressors like you've mentioned for one of our clients. Like, they're going to be stressed out of their mind because they're asking for a specific type of reporting that you're just not ready to give. Mm-hmm. So you end up just manually exporting Excel sheets, and whenever somebody ends up in a Google sheet or an Excel sheet in our space, we know that we messed up.
I twitch. Well, and even when I think about the reporting data too, because it's like, when you think about reports, what's reports? It's just a collection of data. And the thing is, it's like, if you're asking me for this report and I don't know exactly what data set you're looking at, you're going to be disappointed. And so that's where this standardization is so helpful, because it's like, okay, when I'm asking about leads, let's say if I'm asking about how many qualified deals do you have, if you're not following my definition of a qualified deal, we're gonna butt heads. It's gonna spend more time. We're both gonna get frustrated. And in this industry, especially, like, time is money, right? Like time
Yeah.
is money. If I'm a private equity firm and I'm spending, 2, 3, 4 hours with you just getting your data correctly, that's 2, 3 hours I could have been out scouring for new deals, understanding, talking with investors, like wherever that is, while I'm literally sitting here just trying to fix your data. Uh,
Yeah.
and that is why the data optimization piece is so, because it's like, okay, if I'm not in there understanding like that you may have three fields for this one property, or 3 properties for this whatever, right? CRM's get
Yeah.
messy really quickly. Then we're gonna have issues. Like we're going to have issues because you're not pulling the data. And really at the end of the day, when a private equity firm, invests, they get a majority stake, their whole goal is to turn around and sell it again. Their whole
Yeah.
goal is to find more money in this company itself. And so if they're not on the same level of what that looks like, it's going to be a lose-lose for literally everyone around. It's a lose-lose for
Yeah.
the private equity firm. It's a lose-lose for the company that's been acquired. And you not to name names, but I've seen this happen where I have seen private equity firms buy publicly traded companies, take them private, and just decimate them. And
Yeah.
because there was an alignment. And that's what
Yeah.
we're really aiming for, is that alignment, which I believe is the top tier, right? Maybe it's not alignment. It's
Our top tier is strategic growth, where once we set up our reporting, we can start doing short bursts of experiments to improve our processes, to improve our product offering, improve our marketing, improve our sales based on these experiments that we can trust now, because we've done all the homework. And trust is a big thing in this relationship. And if you get to a point where you cannot provide these answers, and you might start hearing comments like, "We do not trust your data,"
yeah,
that is them being polite and saying, "We do not trust you."
yeah, yeah,
So your option is to either do a small pivot and adopt the framework that has been successful for them and that they know will ensure they get the right answers, or risk having to, work on building trust from basically nothing and telling them like, "Hey, trust me, bro, the numbers are good." It's like,
Nothing erodes trust faster. Nothing makes my like hair stand on end more than and like being in sales when people are like, "Oh no, don't worry, I'm gonna hit quota," and it's like you look at their data and you're like, you're riding on one deal. Like that.
yeah,
That's what it feels like. That's what it feels like in this conversation. When they start to say we don't trust your data, that means that they don't trust your sales reps putting data in correctly. They don't trust your sales managers for QAing it. They don't trust any of your team from you down, which is like, ew, it makes me like, kind of squinch inside.
yeah,
Like, yeah, you don't trust your data. That means we don't trust you. So, and that trust has been eroded for a while, because at that point that they've tried things to make it right. But at that point, we're just like, we don't trust your data. And you're like, okay, yeah, you're right. Like that's how I know that I'm about to get kicked out, right?
yeah.
Um,
So it's obvious to us and to people that like this is something that is needed, and
yes.
that misalignment problem is something that we need to fix.
Mhm.
If we want to go down to the nuts and bolts of it, AdoptionHub was built with specific tools in mind to help in specific places.
Yes.
Could you give us like a little rundown on how private equity firms can use AdoptionHub's tools to be able to enforce that process across the portfolio?
Yeah, of course. And it goes back to the questions I would ask if I was running my own fund now. And it's if you're the CEO, if you get hit by a bus tomorrow, would your company still be able to run? And the answer will be yes with AdoptionHub. The answer is will be yes with AdoptionHub. And how that's happening inside the CRM is going to be done via explainer cards, which will be your SOPs placed exactly where you need them. Easy to update too, because they're easy to find. I think that's what happens a lot with SOPs that are stuck in Google Drives. Is just like no one can ever find them, so no one ever uses them. And then because no one ever uses them, they never get updated. Because these cards are in the flow of work, if there's something wrong, you can easily fix them. Where data
And those are not stuck to just HubSpot.
Oh,
So these feature in any domain that you assign them to.
Exactly. So it can be enabled on any URL. So because it's a Chrome extension, because it can be used for Google Chrome or Microsoft Edge. And so really you can take your SOPs across the web. What's specific to HubSpot is going to be those compliance flags, those process rules. Are those process rules that are going to tell you exactly what to do while you're in the system. So, um, if you're not, if you don't even have, if you're bootstrapped, I guess, you can use those process rules to really make sure that whatever, oh my gosh, what is that term? Tribal knowledge.
Yeah.
Whatever the term tribal knowledge is. Okay. Tribal knowledge should not exist. I understand why it does exist, because people are like, well, I can't lose my job if I'm the one who knows how to do this. Which, like, understand that sentiment, I do. But at the same time, it's like, at any point, you should be able to pull yourself out and, like, not be needed. If you're relying on tribal knowledge, we should probably look a little bit further on, like, what your skill set is.
Yeah.
But it really takes that knowledge out and makes sure that people are able to do and fill in the data, do the right trainings, and understand, like, that by the time they get that deal to close one, they should not have to touch it ever again. And when we're talking about that time is money, like, if you've been following the process all along, if you get to close one, that's it. It is customer success time. It's support time. A sales rep should never be going back into a closed one deal to update data. Like, rule of thumb. So if you're private equity and you're talking about your standardized frameworks, you can use process rules to make sure that those standard frameworks are followed. A simple way, if you have a certain sales methodology, you can enforce those via process rules. And then you can go in any PortCo and be like, cool, I can see here that we have 15 deals with tail champions. That's not following our framework or our methodology. Like, what's going on? So that really allows anyone to come in when you have the standard frameworks, looking at process rules, looking at process boards, aggregating all the process rules together, gives you such a high level view so quickly to see if there's an issue. Yeah. Because in this world, as we talked about earlier, the moment you say we don't trust your data, that trust was eroding long before they ever said something to you. So process rules are going to allow you to see what's happening or not happening very quickly and nip it in the butt. Because issues that are sat on don't become issues. They become major plumbing issues, right? I see a water drip. If I ignore it, all of a sudden I'm replacing my bathtub and my floor and all of this down the road. So problems do not get better with time. Not following process does not get better with time. Pushing things under the rug does not get better in time. And process rules and AdoptionHub make sure that we're catching that early, and correcting that behavior or correcting maybe the framework to make sure that it does get done.
Yeah. One thing that end users might not be able to do, but if you work with us, we'll be able to help you with through AdoptionHub, is if you have a standard build out of a HubSpot portal that you like, we don't have to build it from scratch for them every single time. Through AdoptionHub, we can save your portals and deploy them at least for a 90% state where you can then layer that 10% customization on top. So even when we're deploying it, we're making sure that it's the same process that's getting delivered every single time.
Is this what the kids are doing this day? This thing? Is that the thing? Is that the thing? Oh my God. Me trying to be a Gen Z. I'm like, hey, yeah. That's our little secret sauce. And so, like, that, honestly, it's one of the reasons I love AdoptionHub. And, because everyone talks all the time. They're like, well, when I'm doing a standardized build and I get in there, I see I'm trying to fix this and this, and I get sidetracked. And you're like, I can see why that happens, because the moment you allow yourself into a portal and, like, start looking at all of that, you're going into customization. Like, you're instantly going to customization. What AdoptionHub will allow you to do, right, is it will allow you to do that same standard build. If there's a certain pipeline that you'd like to do, certain deal stages that you like to see, if there's a certain sequences that you have perfected over time, like, this is the opportunity for private equity firms to look at their best exit, like their best customer, and really replicate what they did with that over and over again. I said, even down to landing pages, marketing emails, like what
record pages as well.
Record pages, yeah. Sequences even. So, like, you really can just kind of just take it out, make it standard, and give it to every single portfolio, meaning that you are starting from day one on the same page. Then you layer that in with the AdoptionHub process rules and explainer cards, and you literally have a set system ready to go for that new company so that you can at least deploy it and then spend time mapping it out to what their custom or like current process is. Like you can literally deploy and then go through optimization if you wanted to.
Yeah. I was going to say some people might be scared of like, we don't want to implement it before we finalize our process. Well, if your process is in flux, you can start with the MVP, deploy that, work on upgrading the process. Once those updates are ready, push those updates directly to all the portals.
Well, and you can even A/B test it too.
Yeah.
Like because of AdoptionHub, we can bring over forms, we can bring over landing pages, we can bring over workflows. So like we can literally bring over the entire build and we can A/B test it too. And so we can even say like, hey, we're going to do a landing page and start potentially pushing this landing page out to see how they go through the entire flow. And it will go through our pipeline and we can start to see it with a lot more visibility and you can literally A/B test it. So while we're optimizing it, we can anyways, there's lots of things we can do.
Yeah.
And you already know
what are some other tools inside of AdoptionHub that we use to help private equity teams ensure conformity across their portfolio?
Yeah. So action plans. Action plans are going to be those learning paths. That's how I like talk about them. And that's really the ability to it's any onboarding guided learning path ever. And private equity can use that to teach their methodologies, right? Where it's a, maybe even an introduction to the PE firm, they can go through and learn a lesson on like what the goals are. Because I think like sometimes that may be lost in translation too, but you can have a really holistic view of like, hey, this is why we're here. This is what our goals are. This is how we intend to do it. And this is what you should expect in the next couple of months. Even having something like that as an onboarding plan that you can replicate and give to your team. Again, a lot of times these things happen in silos, right? It's the executive team talking with the PE firm and, Cheryl over in finance hears something about it and they tell someone in HR or they tell someone. And so it's kind of creates this, okay, well, what's happening? And the number one thing you don't want to happen during this is having your employees question what's going on. Granted, there will be questions, obviously.
Yeah.
But
one thing worth noting is that you might hear this and say, oh, this is like a disconnected task list. It's not. A lot of these, action plans can be context aware and can detect if the steps have been completed without a human going in and checking it. Definitely, if your task is like something that like learn X, Y, and Z, definitely we cannot auto complete that for you. But anything, almost anything in platform can definitely be auto detected.
Yeah. The other thing is going to be updates. So there's going to be a lot of changes going on when a private equity firm comes in, and updates is the change management tool you can use. So even coming back to that HubSpot, you can say, hey, this process is, you can have it show up on a certain pipeline page. Just be like, hey, we're currently reworking this process. You may notice some changes. So it's a way to keep your team unified and centralize all of that knowledge and keep them enabled on what's going on, right? And I think the biggest thing when we talk about this standardization and AdoptionHub and really enabling your team to understand and like know what's going on, is that we've talked about eroding trust. I think this is the opposite. It builds trust, right? It helps founders reclaim their trust with their team, reclaim time so that they can maybe handle those more important questions. Because at the end of the day, what usually happens is that a founder kind of goes MIA. And this really allows the founder to be more present with their team and be present with the PE firm as opposed to trying to chase all of these different points. And at the end of the day, it's just going to be a very smoother integration, hopefully a faster exit, and hopefully just a lot, I hate to say like smoother, but really I think the operational scale and standardization is going to become a competitive advantage more than anything else.
Yeah. And what I love about those updates specifically is You have a way to see who's viewed the updates
Yes.
and who's dismissed the updates. So if you have a founder that is MIA and ghosting you, you can send them updates inside their
Excuse
portal
me.
to just as a sign of life.
Excuse me. Please tell me what's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, honestly, I love updates are probably one of my favorite tools because you can like direct the person where to go. So on Friday, especially internally, it's like go make sure your timesheets are up to date and you can send them straight to their timesheet. At this point, it's like, oh no, oh no.
We talked a lot about private equity being able to standardize process inside of their portfolio companies, but how can AdoptionHub help them in their own portal when it comes to oversight and just checking on the health of their entire portfolio?
Yeah. It's the same idea. You're going to be using AdoptionHub the same way your portfolio company is going to be using AdoptionHub. So having those process rules as flags, right? We haven't heard from this founder in over 7 days. Let's put a violation up or an error flag and get it on people's radars. There's a lot. I'm like, oh my gosh, my brain going back to like fund administration day. Pipelines are going to be so important for how you're moving. Hey, closing is within 10 days and we don't have the investment documents uploaded. We're missing an investor signature, right? This, even with process rules, because you can cross object associate them, the way you might, again, this is me just kind of on the fly, but the way I would think about it is that if I had a ongoing deal with investors, each investor would be listed or associated as a contact, right? And with an association saying this is an investor in this deal. And I could even set up automations to say like, hey, investor A hasn't signed their document yet. Like, right? Like have a property is there. Yeah, have they signed the, oh my gosh, what am I thinking of? Whatever. Had they signed in their investment docs?
The letter of intent?
Yeah, letter of intent. Have they signed their investment docs? Yes, no. It's just a property, right? That we could autofill from their Panda doc or whatever. And we could even have the process rule say, hey, this closes in 10 days and investor A hasn't signed their docs.
Yeah.
Like, get on them. So there's so much that you can do with just the complexities of like what happens in a merger acquisition, that AdoptionHub will become your breathing life force to make sure that things are happening making sure that violations are, because the worst thing you can do in the PE world is miss a closing.
Yeah.
I've been there.
That must not be a fun event for anyone involved.
It was not. Yeah. A little painful. This is like at the point if I were like to have a drink, I'd drink it, right? A beer or a glass of wine. Like, yeah, it was not fun. But yes, I always say the best adoption is you using it internally before unleashing it on your clients.
Yeah. So we've talked a lot about the point of view of the private equity firm, but let's talk a little bit about that individual contributor at that portfolio company, how they will be experiencing AdoptionHub from their side as a user.
That's a great question. So from the portfolio company itself, right?
Yeah.
How they will experience it, as long as they are logged in, they will naturally experience it. And that is one of my favorite things, is that there's very minimal setup on the individual user side. It is, you got to log in, download the Chrome extension, and then you will be served what you need to know in the flow of work. So all you need to, when you see the icons, know that if you have more questions about that, you can click those. The process rules will flag if your objects are violating. So if you're working through a deal and, there hasn't been any activity in 7 days, or, back to that previous example, your contact hasn't signed, you'll be able to see those in real time as you're working through. So really the impact is minimal. Really, if you want to be proactive about it, you can request more rules. You could say, hey, I noticed we don't have a rule for this, and you will make your AdoptionHub admin absolutely love you, which is me if you're working with Harvest ROI.
Yeah.
But the way we think about process rules here is we have hygiene, rules. So like you're missing data. We have training rules. So in that example of, there hasn't been any activity in 7 days, this is, this lead isn't stuck here for 10 days. I'm using a lot of time-based stuff. It doesn't have to be time-based. It can be things like, hey, the competitor in this deal is XYZ company. Here is a battle card about that company so that you can be where you're working, where you're like all of those things. Even getting as like granular as like if an email comes in and it mentions the competitor's name, you can flag and say like, hey, this person mentioned they're working with XYZ. Because a lot of times those things might not get communicated up to a manager. Because the sales rep is gonna be like, no, I've got it handled, we're fine. But that's the kind of insight that you can get with process rules, especially in that unstructured data portion of HubSpot.
Yeah.
But they will experience it.
As a user of AdoptionHub myself here at Harvest, it helps me be clear on what the process looks like, gives me competitive advantage, and genuinely saves time. Only because it's delivered in a channel that makes sense. Whenever I was an individual contributor and I had SOPs forced on me and process, they were always out of sight. They were always somewhere where I need to dig into. I've never worked at a fancy place where they had a knowledge base. It was always like a folder of documents on some server. So like it was always not searchable. It was always you have to acquire that tribal knowledge to be able to find the SOPs and guides that you need. And most of the time the guides are out of date because nobody's hunting down those documents and making sure they're up to date. So that kind of brings a question. Let's say they're updating their knowledge bases, or we call them bases in AdoptionHub. If they want to do some updates across the portfolio, how can they do that?
So with the way that it's structured, we can set up the bases to be mirrored. And so if they want to make really easy changes, so there's a couple different ways, especially because we're the way we have it structured. Those bases that you talked about, they're going to be like the top folder of a folder structure. And the way that we can set it up is that we can have one base that's mirrored. So for your portfolio company, that would be like your FAQs, your how-tos, like anything that's like tied back to them can be easily mirrored across all of your clients. So like to that point, if it's a very simple update, you can put it in the base and we'll automatically push.
To every single portfolio company.
Yeah, pretty slick, huh? And if they are following our advice to a T, if it's all standardized, that means they only have to make an update to one.
Yeah.
Just say. So really easy to update. Like I said, to your point, they're easy to find. That's like easy because it's right there in the flow of work and you can easily pop it into the back end to edit it. And so updating it's pretty simple. I mean, I get a Slack every once in a while that's like, oh my God, this is wrong. And I'm like, okay. And I open it, change it, and that's it. Like, don't have to go digging through a Google Doc. Don't have to go. I'm laughing actually because as you were talking about previous companies, at one point when I was managing a customer success team, I literally told them to search Slack with their question because it was asked before and respond on a thread and ask if this is still relevant. Like
there are solutions out there that are trying not to fight the chaos, but try to make sense of it. And some of them have Slack as a knowledge source. So I've tested them. It just reinforces bad habits. I prefer the way we've approached it with AdoptionHub.
And it is so hard to kill tribal knowledge. And so I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but it is so hard to change it, especially when you're moving fast and iterating fast. And so back into the idea of like maybe VC funding, those founders are literally living in chaos. Like they are moving quickly, they're pivoting quickly. So like nothing is written down ever. And so again, back to the beginning of this podcast where I'm like the questions I would ask now if I was investing would be things like, is this process written down? At least anywhere. And you will be shocked at the amount of times it's like, no, it's not. And you're like, okay, well, we need to get that written down before
Yeah.
we do anything else. But yeah, leaning into the chaos it doesn't scale. I mean,
Yeah.
it does, but it doesn't. Like when you look at like a big company's Slack channel, so like my husband works for a bigger company, and I look at his Slack every once in a while, and he's got 50 Slacks that he just has in his view alone. And I'm like, how many Slacks do you have in your company? He's like, thousands. Thousands. And I'm like,
Yeah. Yeah, that must be fun. We are an AI forward company here at Harvest ROI, and we help teams implement HubSpot AI tool sets and features and processes. So when I say this, this is coming from
place of love.
a place where we've tested this. Just slapping AI search on top of your chaos is not going to fix it. That's not the solution that some vendors are trying to push. It does not work, plain and simple.
Well, and it's, I did make my own GPT this week. I have been working on it. And I think what people miss is that you still have to have the knowledge when you build out a GPT. You still have to know the nuances. You have to know the edge cases. You have to know anything that's going to break that GPT. And so to your point, just slapping AI on it, because a lot of what I see is really just almost like a chat GPT interface. But again, they don't know your project or they don't know your product very well. So the 3 steps, because of the way private equities are structured, first, we want to make sure your setup is correct. So I would recommend going through an optimization with our team on your setup. But 2, because of the unique structure and like how you're investing, this is where we want to spend time of making your standard model. So when you come into our Harvest ROI team, we would go through the same structure, optimization, all of that, to align with what the ideal structure is for you to make sure that things are done quickly. And then after that, it's rinse and repeat for all of your new portfolio companies coming in. We'll have that structure set and ready for you to go. And once you bring in those new portcos, we will go through that same process with them, but sped up because we had your standardization ready to go.
Awesome. Lindsay, thanks so much for joining me today.
Yeah.
This was a fun pilot. And for anyone who's listening or watching, let us know what you thought. Let us know if you have any suggestions about formats. We're definitely using this podcast to share a lot of the work we've been doing with different industries and trying to help them bring up their adoption and enablement to the standard that they need, all powered through AdoptionHub. Dare I say, even though no money's changing hand, this podcast is sponsored by AdoptionHub, right?
Yes. Yes. Sponsored by AdoptionHub.
Lindsay, do you have any parting thoughts?
No parting. I do have one parting thought. I think people are scared of standardization because they think it's going to lose the sparkle. But just know that standardization is going to make everything easier. It's that whole idea of all rising tides lifts all boats. Standardization is going to just catapult you to the next level. Because it's a lot easier to build off a process and a standard than it is to try to make sense of a mess of chaos. And this is coming from someone who's been built out, 10, 15 HubSpot portals from scratch and from chaos. And so just know standardization is going to be your best friend because you can always deviate from standards, but you can't deviate from nothing.
Yeah. Lindsay, thank you again. To everyone listening, hope we see you in the next one. Once we get this launched, we'll definitely try to put it on all platforms that you consume your podcasts on. Until then, hope to see you in the next one.
Thanks.